All right. I'm going to speak on something that has been on my heart, and I think that you might want to hear this. If you are someone who is confused right now about what is happening regarding the politics of this world, especially if you're kind of somewhere in between the two extremes, this message is for you. And this message is also for many of my friends and family who are on either one of the two extremes. I want to let you guys know we're all being played and we've all been lied to. Now, I'm going to try to make this quick and concise. So this is what I mean by that. The two ideas that we've been given on one extreme is we have a current president who's a crazy nut job who should have never gotten elected to begin with. And the last 4 years have completely put us where we are now, right? So, an election happened a few months ago, and he lost this election fair and square, and he is crying and whining like a little baby because he doesn't want to leave. And come Wednesday, things are about to change. Now, that is one side. I mean, I'm generalizing here, of course. On the other side, we have a group of people, many of whom are close friends and family people I grew up with, who have a lot of faith in the conservative ideals of this Constitution and this republic that was founded back in the 1700s, late 1700s, that, more or less is supposed to be a democratic process where we vote our leadership into office, and then that leadership represents our voice. And for the most part, our voice has not been being represented. And we have a gentleman in office, a president who we've had the last 4 years, who's been doing all that he can to get things tidied up and get this swamp drained, so to speak. And, many on that side take a very faith-based approach, indicating that, this is God's plan for the restoration of this country. And I want to, right now, break both of y'all down on some new information. No, it's not even new. It's actually quite old information. But I don't know if anybody's ever told you that neither side is telling you the truth. I am not pro-politics. Quick little backstory about me. Growing up, it was never that political. Then got a little active as I was old enough to vote. I voted both Republican and Democrat on different tickets, under different candidates. And I've now settled on neither. I did not vote at all in the last election or in this election because I overstand the truth that our vote has not mattered. February 21st, I think it is, will be 150 years that our vote has not mattered. And here is why. There is a piece of legislation that passed in the year 1871. It's very, 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 very important that you know this. If you've never heard of the Act of 1871 or the Organic Act of 1871, start there. Start there. Ask yourself, when I go to Walmart and I buy an American flag to hang on my front porch, it's got 13 stripes, 50 stars or whatever, and that's the flag. But how come the ones on TV in the Oval Office and in the Supreme Court and in all the lawyers' rooms have golden fringes around the flag? That, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret, that's really not that big of a secret, but most people don't know this. The golden fringes represent the flag of a completely different sovereign nation. That nation is the corporation of the United States. I'm going to say that again. You see the American flag and it's got golden fringes around it. This is not talking about to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, come on. Does it feel like we're indivisible? Does it feel like there's liberty and justice for all? Or are those just words that somebody had to start saying that we were told to repeat as children so that it gets baked in our minds that what happened in 1871 didn't actually happen? So I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to break this down in a very simple way, and I'll follow this video up with some much more in-depth explanations on exactly what happened, but I get the impression that the next 48 hours are going to factor into this. So, to know what's happening right now, today, January 18th, 2021, the first thing you got to know is what changed in 1871. This country was founded as a republic, constitutional republic, not a democracy, a constitutional republic, believe it or not. But that changed. It was just after the Civil War. The short story goes that our leadership asked for a financial bailout at the time, and that bailout consisted of a couple conditions and caveats, the chief of which was, we'll give you the money, okay, but you have to make your country into a corporation, and we'll buy that corporation and thus absolve your debts into our debt-to-asset portfolio, and we'll conduct all our affairs on the ocean, on international waters, under a structure known as maritime law or admiralty law or sea law, the ocean law. The law of the land, that's for y'all. The law of the sea, this is for us. This is why the District of Columbia is a district and not a state. It is a separate sovereign nation. Okay, completely separate nation other than America. Now, I realize maybe this is the first time you're hearing that. Maybe it's like, who is this guy with the pink, colorful background? Who are you? How do you know? We can get into all that later. What you need to know is that Washington, D.C., inside of America, this little 10 square mile nation state, it's a completely sovereign nation that has been operating as our guardians, as our bosses, so to speak, employers, since the year 1871. And now they're done with the ruse and they're sabotaging it, completely destroying it, fully in public view so that the average Joe around the world can fully see what's happening and it's not going to be hidden behind the shadows. And they're making way for a new system. And I don't think a lot of people are quite up to speed on what happened and what is happening. So I'm gonna run through this kind of quick. 1871, the Constitution of the United States, a nice little scroll or whatever that it was, gets nice and furled up, tossed in a garbage can to never be looked at again, and a series of a Constitution of the United States was born, as opposed to a Constitution for the United States. And that United States became a, not sentence case, capital U, lowercase NITED, capital S, lowercase TATES, but a capital United States. Like if you've ever started a business, I have a business, when you look at your business license, it's in all caps. If you look at your social security card and your name, it's in all caps. You are an employee of the corporation of America. Your live birth certificate you were issued at the hospital or by the midwife, that's a piece of paper indicating you as a new sovereign individual on this earth. When you send that off to DC, the other country that it is, and then they come back with your little blue social security card, that is your official employee ID number for the corporation of the United States, Inc. And that carries a whole trust, and there's all kinds of conversations that we had about that. But that means that since 1871, your vote has not mattered, period. All right? I'm going to say that again so that it's real clear for y'all. Nobody's vote, your vote, my vote, has not mattered. Now, I voted. I even went, the elections in 2008, I viewed at the time in my naivete as very historic. So I got my little butt in a car and drove up to D.C., and I was in the National Mall for Obama's inauguration. It was freezing cold. I remember being so cold that you could stand shoulder to shoulder and lift your feet up in the air and not fall down because of how tightly people were pressed against one another. And I came to realize, probably about 5 or 6 years later, that I was fooled. I was misled. I was mistaken. I was sold a bill of goods, and I took that one to the chin and started to learn again. And when I learned that nobody's vote mattered because of a corporate strategy that was played out before our great-grandparents, most of us, was even born, then I realized this whole thing that we're dealing with now is about entirely something other than what's being presented from both parties. And I said this before, and I'll say this again. Donald Trump is about to throw egg, if you will. There's about to be egg tossed on the face of both the left and the right by the same individual, but for different reasons. For everybody on the left, all y'all haters, right? If the route that they could have taken with your homegirl back in the days 4 years ago would have gone, we would have been in this situation 4 years ago with the whole pandemic and all that, because this is all connected, and that's a whole different conversation for a different day. However, all of the reasons that you've been given to hate Donald Trump, and trust me, there are many reasons to dislike this man, because I do not like this man and I do not trust him. However, I don't like him for the reasons that are appropriate not to like him, because of what he's really up to. Because he's deceiving you, and he's deceiving the person that he's got you arguing against, because he's lying to both of y'all. On the right, you're going to realize that he breaks your heart. It's like a lover who you trusted, who promised you, a republic to restore, preach prosperity, and that's not going to happen. Why? Because that's not in the script. That's not in the plans to happen. The rhetoric exists, and that's for most of y'all, the half of y'all over there who's paying attention. But Donald Trump is not to be trusted. He is his entire family history. If you know anything about his family history, about the large brotherhood that he currently, as the legend goes, presides over, the influence that this brotherhood has on, I don't know, most of American and Western business and politics, right? This is not some Christian guy who just showed up one day and said, I want to make America great again. Yeah, that did not happen, all right? Both sides have been sold a bill of goods, because when you voted for him 4 years ago, you weren't actually voting for him, remember? You were being played then. And part of that drama was about setting up the drama that's dealing with now. So the Republic is gone. It's been gone. February 20-something, I think 21st, 1871 was when that happened. So we're like basically a month shy of 150 years, go figure, right? And we're at a place where a new economic plan from both sides are being presented as the solution to, how to combat what we dealt with all last year. But those new economic plans are allegiant to financial interests from other parts of the world that do not care about your health or well-being, and in fact consider you a virus or a cancer to this earth, and pretty much want you killed because they're telling y'all we're overpopulated. With all that said, know this. Because of this important but little known about piece of legislation in 1871 and the SNL skit that they've been managing since, nobody's vote has mattered. And now that the election skit has run its entire course, they're ready to sabotage the illusion in a way that I believe most people will be confused about, because it won't make much sense based on how things are playing out. And that's because they've been lying to y'all, for all of us. I shouldn't say y'all. They've been lying to us for 150 years now. And I think that it's important that we begin to remove our emotions from having this man in this blue colored tie or that man in that red colored tie or woman save or fix anything. We need to let our emotions go and mature to know that neither side is virtuous, right? There's no, for one side to be ratting on all the non-virtuous behavior of the other side. I could pull up a whole suitcase of information on players on both sides that connect back to the same brotherhoods. Because when you understand the big story, then you really know. Now I'm going to continue part two. Part two. So, the thing that I think has confused a lot of people are this idea that we need a representative to represent us based on the procedures that just exist since we became old enough to recognize them, right? If there's ever to be a people, a representative government for the people, the whole kit and caboodle is going to have to go out the door, okay? So I don't even, I don't pray for the restoration of America. America is toast. America is Mystery Babylon. There's blood on our collective hands for the atrocities that we are enabling and furthering overseas, particularly in places like Palestine, like Yemen, like Lebanon, like things that I don't want to get into in this video. But this is not about the restoration or some sort of altruistic recovery of this country. This is about you, me, your family, your daughter, your son, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your significant other, your partner. This is about individuals coming to respect one another under the collective wisdom that we're all being lied to, and the point is for us to fight. So let's not give in to what they want. No rioting, no picketing, no marching, because clearly it doesn't work, right? They've given us the illusion of the idea that it's worked, only to keep it all under the same brotherhood control. But that's, again, another story for another day. So I want to stick to the topic about what we're seeing right now because of what happened in the year 1871. And again, I keep referring to this because if you're not quite familiar with that, it's really important that you begin to understand that legislation and that date, knowing that this whole elusive 3 World Wars letter from Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini was also written in 1871 and seems to be playing out pretty accurately from where I'm sitting. But again, I digress. So we are at a place where they're finished with the SNL sketch. They're done. They are ready to move us into a new system. Now, the people, and I'm going to just spatially refer to this side as I should have set the colors, right? I can change these colors. Next time I'll set this side as the red side and this side as the blue side, and so it'll make more sense. But these guys over here have every financial and business connection and influence connection to psychological warfare through media, through electronics, through technology, as well as through the incumbent government system, if you will, just the way things have been since all of us was born, if you even know how to get on a platform to watch this video now. And they have everything to lose in this transition. So their behavior has become, from my perspective, in my opinion, very desperate. Now, it doesn't mean it's entirely bad people over there. There's a lot of my friends are over there. I lived in LA, all right, for the last, decade. So California is very near and dear to me and a lot of my friends there. However, I was born over here, right, North Carolina. And some of the good old boys that I grew up around are also very smart, very wise, God-fearing, human-loving people. And both of these sides are being sold lies. This side is being sold lies in the form of the true religious intentions and spiritual intentions of this leader that they so clamor for, to represent them. If y'all really knew what this man truly believed, you would not want him to represent you. I mean, look at his fruits, right? Grabber bought a... What? I mean, he said it, not me, right? Look at his fruits. Look at the color of the little bracelet on his children's wrists. Know what these jewelry and symbols and things mean, because this will tell you who his allegiance is to. And it's not the God you think, and it's definitely not you, right? It's not me either. Over here, look into the things that are being reported, soon to be exposed most likely, about what's been going on over there. And it's things that should sicken your stomach. Now, it's not that they're the only guys that do that. These guys do it just as much too. And that's the problem I have with this big QAnon. QAnon showed up in 2017. Problem with Q is I already knew everything Q is saying before Q showed up. And what they don't do a great job of doing is telling you why educating you on the foundation of why these people do these negative and like awful practices. Now, of course, it's true. They do. Almost everything Q has said is true, right? It's like it's happened. These are not allegations for the most. I mean, they're allegations, but time will tell that, human trafficking and pedophilia is not a new phenomenon, right? The purpose of that is to gain, it's like a cheat code, to cheat fair and balanced and fair and square business practices, artistic practices, creative practices, to gain help from the spirit world, chiefly through fallen angels and the demonic. And the exchange is such that if you do this that requires X amount of bad things, they'll do something in exchange for the sacrifice. And because that is the exchange between the spirit world and the physical world, both sides exploit that option. This side is not made up of virtuous, righteous individuals. They can quote the Bible, but so can Lucifer, right? What they don't tell you is all the problems with the worldview that's baked around that particular ideology, and how that's just as much of a trick bag as what they're dealing with over here. So I'm putting these videos out so that hopefully people can exhale, just breathe out, just woosah, whatever, right? Breathe out and recognize that this next couple days leading into this inauguration might, and I'll put a little asterisk there because it might not, but it might be very strange dealing with the disclosure of some juicy information, right? Particularly about what these guys have been up to and more. And that should not fool the wise as serpent but gentle as dove saints, elect, Kodeshim, called out ones, ecclesia, who have ears to hear. Because those of us who have been paying attention know that the true Father in heaven is not involved in American politics, other than to probably just have his back turned to it as he walks the other direction, because there's no righteousness in this system. If you notice, both players on both sides of this team are pushing for a transhuman solution to doink, 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 this upper respiratory disease that may or may not have been actually proven to be isolated and exist, but that's a whole nother conversation for a different day. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to get these videos snatched off. But both teams are planning to, or both sides, if you will, are pushing for the same technological solution to the greater problem that we're all dealing with, which should tell you that at the end, from the highest levels, this is one synchronized plan. Left wing, right wing, two wings to the same bird. There is no possible way, knowing the pedigree of this gentleman who's been our president for the last 4 years, that you could ever consider him a righteous individual. And that's not even with his fruits, right? And that's not even paying attention to actually the things that he said and done, right? Conversely, there is just also no way that you could ever consider this man or his vice president-elect a righteous man or woman, knowing their fruits and their pedigree and the history of the things that they have done and said regarding black people, regarding, poor people, just all kinds of different things. But again, I'm not getting into the weeds of that. What I think I'm trying to really say with this video here is, don't be deceived by the television narrative. It is misaligned from both ends. Events are staged more than you know. Trust me, as someone who's worked in TV, I know how they do their tricks. The illusion of TV magic, the illusion of magic is very much an illusion. And with the right budgets and the right executive producers, you can pretty much communicate any concept, whether it's based in truth at all. Whether it's based in truth or not. And I can tell you that for the most part, this industry is built on rotten things that I don't even feel like going into because I'll just get too emotional. So with that said, there was fraud in this recent election. Absolutely. It will be proven, most likely, if they decide to actually, flex, like actually show us what you got. Okay, sealed indictments. Okay, let's see them. Come on, we waiting, right? I do believe that there was proof of election fraud, but keeping in mind, nobody's elections have actually mattered or been legitimate since 1871. People were screaming election fraud 4 years ago. Pelosi herself. On her Twitter, you can go look at it right now, right? The same people who are telling you, oh, there's no way there was election fraud, were the very same people screaming, there's election fraud 4 years ago. 4 years before that, it was the flip-flop, right? Back with the Bush and the Florida recount vote, that was a whole, election fraud scandal back then. I believe what has been happening is an attempt to publicly undermine the concept and the trust in the old system to make way for this new system. Now, this new system is mostly a financial foundation. It's a biotechnical foundation that converts this nervous system, not mine, but whoever happens to receive said, technology, into a platform. We'll just say an operating system like a bio-like operating system like platform-like thing, undefinable technically. And on top of that platform will be a financial bailout of bailouts, really. This side refers to it as Nasara. This side refers to it as the Great Reset. It's both of their economic plans to make way for the recovery from what we've all been dealing with. And neither of them are pure. Because in order to move forward in both of them, you have to doink, doink, doink. You got to convert. You got to get that 2.0. You got to upgrade. And I, for one, will not be doing that. So, again, different story, different conversation, different day. All this to say, we're at a place now, guys, where I think a lot of crazy stuff's about to go down. And I want to say this in all seriousness in the last couple minutes here. This fight, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against rulers of darkness, against spiritual wickedness in high places, guys. My fight is not with you, no matter what color your skin is or what color you voted for. My fight is not with you. My fight is against the devils and the evil of this world, and it's through spiritual warfare we win this fight, not through bickering, not through arguing. We should not trust in these human plans. I have a lot of friends who are smart, who are waking up to this stuff, who do see the debauchery going on, but you should not be trusting. Trust the Creator, right? If you don't know how to do that, ask Him. He will tell you, listen, I'm scared. I'm bugging out. I don't know what the heck's going on. My country seems like it's less united than it's in a less united state than it's ever been in. So what do I do? Ask Him, and He will reveal Himself to you. But just know that what we're dealing with now is all scripted and all planned, and is nothing like they're going to tell you on TV. And they will be acting in a way to maximize chaos. So don't give in, don't fight, don't argue. Just trust that, yes, while there was fraud, the purpose was to show the fraud so that the fraud can be exposed, so that you can actually lose your allegiance to the old system so that the new system can be brought in. And you can think, oh, yeah, this seems better. It's a form of inception, a form of gaslighting. And I believe that it'll only fool the people who don't have the truth of the Holy Spirit flowing through them to help them know that your salvation is in Him and in your own ability to use the talents He's given you, not in these politicians and leaders. So with that, my friends, I'll be speaking a lot more on this very soon. I love you all. Hit me up in my DMs. Send me a text if you know me. Call me. I'm happy to talk this stuff out. But look up the Organic Act of 1871, what those flags with the golden fringes mean, and get the popcorn machine ready, because the next couple days is going to be very strange, I think. And one other thing, think about this. We all heard the stories. We all seen the movies, Catherine the Great, Mary Queen of Scots, right? All these, 15th, 16th century royal families that controlled all of their kingdom through incestuous children and, relationships that beget heirs to the throne. I would like to ask people, and I ask people this all the time, when did that change exactly? And I don't want to hear, the American Revolution. When Nina Pinta Santa Maria came over with Ferdinand and Isabella's money, and Christopher Columbus was looking for West Indies, but he was looking for India, but he ended up on the other side of the world. And some brown folks was here, and he kicked them out the way, gave them syphilis, and said, "This is our land now, land of the free, home of the braves." So, again, when did the royalty that has governed since Constantine, since Nero, since before that, the emperors, the high priests of ancient territories and the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, when did the royal bloodlines stop just having babies that was already your leaders instead of, you choosing them? Think about it for a second. Now, keeping in mind that there was already a, I think, 7th grade girl who's put together that every American president has been related not only to the Queen of England, but all the way back to royalty, even older than her, believe it or not.
Well, Dan, the youngster spent the summer, really all summer, tracing the family tree of our presidents. Her conclusion that all the presidents, with the exception of one, share the same grandfather.
Well, first we start off with George Washington at the top, and then it goes to John Adams, Thomas Jefferson.
11-year-old Bridget Dovigneau says she's made a first-of-its-kind discovery that President Obama and all the presidents before him, with the exception of one, are related and descendants of a former king of England.
No, they are all cousins, and they're grandsons of John Lackland.
I mean, she was 11, y'all, and she figured it out. Y'all out here really thinking y'all voting for these jokers. All of the presidents, with the exception of, they didn't even mention which one, related, right, to John Lackland from the 1100s in England. It hasn't been broken in, gosh darn it, almost a millennium. But you voted, right? You voted. Because your vote mattered. Come on, people. We got to be wiser than this. They've been fooling us for a long time. And until we smarten up, they're just going to keep fooling y'all. Because some of us over here get it. Okay? If you want to learn, we can teach you. Start with the Organic Act of 1871. That'll kind of clue you in as to how ain't nothing really changed. The scripts change, but the game remains the same. So, with the fact that all of the presidents have actually been related by blood to the very royalty that apparently owns the charter to the corporation of the United States that's in the process of being absolved. Again, I'll ask, when was it that they said, oh, you know what? We've been running things for so long. We're tired of it. Why don't you just vote? And then we'll let you pick. Because that makes sense. Think about it. The answer should be obvious to you by now. That has never happened. And it never will change until the true Yahshua comes and does it for you. Until then, look out for you and your family. Get right with him. Learn about your enemy. Be wise as serpents, gentle as doves. Do not fight. My fight is not with you, my brother, my sister, at all. Overstand as opposed to simple understanding. First understand, then overstand that he's calling his true called out ones. Those who have ears to hear are hearing, and they are coming out of this whole politics game. Don't waste your prayers on a broken mystery Babylon. Pray for your neighbors, pray for your family, pray for your own home, pray for your friends, pray for, if you want to help someone, send them a video, sure, but pray for them, right? The prayer works, especially when two or more are gathered together on this subject. So I want to leave you guys with encouragement, but at the same time, just know the only power they have is the power we give them. And if you want to take your power back, take it. Does not have to be violent. It just has to start here. And it starts with knowledge. And it starts with wisdom. And applied knowledge is wisdom. And wisdom comes from the Ruach, the Holy Spirit. Yahweh is freedom. Yeshua is freedom. This stuff right here, this is some bull.